All right, so we're going to take you through the different focus settings here and the modes of the camera, so how the camera works. So the main thing here is we have this intelligent auto. So what it does is it basically looks for what you're recording and figures out what do you want in focus. And usually what happens is what fills up the screen the most is what is going to be in focus. So if I touch that icon, though, I can change it. And most of the time we stay on just intelligent auto. There may be some situations you want to be creative and you want to go to manual. There are some other settings on here as well we use very rarely. One of those being HDR. HDR is when you have basically your camera recording a little bit darker and a little bit lighter, and it blends those two together to give you a very rich array of colors. Most of the time, though, we just stay on IA. But if you do go to manual mode, which you can do by touching that button, or you can get by pressing this button in the very front of the camera, it says camera function. If you push on that, and then you can scroll through your different options by rolling this little wheel. So we're going to show you that real quick. So if I'm on manual mode and I click on the manual, the first thing that I do if I go here, it has some features over here. It has focus, white balance, shutter speed, and iris. Those are advanced settings, and when you have my class, I can take you through those. So if you're in class and you're like, hey, what do I need to know about this? For the most part, focus is the main thing that we're looking for. Sometimes we might want to do a manual focus. So we're going to tell the camera what to focus on, and then we can change that in the shot. And so, for instance, you might have something that's really up close and really far away. And as I decide to change my audience's attention, I can change the focus from being on the thing that's up close to maybe the thing that's far away. Another thing we're going to talk about is white balance. You can set your white balance here. And shutter speed is another thing that helps the camera on capturing fast motion versus slow motion and how much light is coming in. Then your iris is kind of like your eyeball, to where if you want more light in, you open that iris up. It gives you a much better looking image, but sometimes if there's so much light, it can basically create a bright white kind of image. So there's a balancing part of trying to let as much light in, but using that shutter speed as well to balance out how fast it's moving with how much light you're letting hit the sensor at one point. So you want it to look good, but at the same time you don't want it to look washed out. So there's a matter of how much light comes in, how fast that shutter is allowing light to hit the sensor, and how much light is actually how bright it is. So for the most part, we just let our cameras do the work. But there are certain situations where you might have a manual situation that you want to fix. So most of the time, though, we go into automatic mode. And so we're going to change this back to auto. And if you do have a shot that's a little bit darker light, like say, for instance, you have someone that's right behind a bright light or some other situation, you can click on here, and there's this button here that can make the image darker or lighter. So I can darken it up, okay, or I can lighten it up. And that will help when you're in front of bright light situations, and I'll do a demonstration on that. One other feature that's pretty helpful is if you go through here and you look at the touch autofocus, that's this middle one. If you touch that, it allows you to put a little box around it. So I'm going to come out here, and if I put that touch autofocus on, I'm going to focus in on something. So I'm going to put my foot up here. If I touch it, then it puts this little box on it. So as I move around, it's going to focus on that. And the reason that's helpful is if I move farther away or closer up to the camera, it'll always stay in focus. Another useful button is this one that's down here at the bottom. If you push and hold this one, it allows you to have basically more stabilization if you're going handheld instead of on a tripod. So you can see where it highlights it in yellow, and then when I let go, and you can see in the top corner here too, where it toggles on and off, with a little hand symbol. So holding that while walking around keeps your shot more steady, and I'll show you that.